especially when you're talking about GCCs that are building these proprietary AI models, they obviously become targets for attacks, model thefts, and so on. So, in your view, what are those most critical AI security risks that GCCs are underestimating today? And what should they prioritize to protect their AI assets and their R&D investments? Anirban?
So before we go on to AI security, because such an interesting discussion was going on, I thought I'll add my 2 cents about why are we still talking about GCCs and technology in the same sentence? Why aren't we talking about GCCs and business? And why aren't we talking about supplying those products that we build, become the supplier of those products to the world when there's such a big opportunity? Right now, the US president can decide in 1 second that Fable 5 is not available to the rest of the world. That means India needs its own AI. And what prevents Hyderabad from generating that? If you have all the brains, then do it. The Indian government will decide where our AI goes. So that's, I think it's a very important point. I would want more of the discussion going that direction. By the way, the patenting thing that we talked about, do you know how did DeepSeek train its models so quickly? One of the methods they used was a distillation attack. No need of patents. Don't file patents. Who cares about patents? The biggest filer of patents, all patents. The reason they make you file patents is because they don't know how to fill your time. Google has created a product specialist position recently. One person is supposed to not only do development of deep technology, but also to market and sell. Product specialist, business, let's talk about that, so that our government becomes strong enough that we can decide. And Southeast Asia is dependent on us. Africa is East Africa, Baltic states. There are so many countries that are dependent on our technology. Now coming to agentic security, the question that I was asked. I feel on-prem solves a lot of it. And I don't think many companies they know that they can do it. But even more than that, shadow AI. You know, most of the stuff is about insider, even now. Your colleagues, many of them have created AI agents. You need to be able to discover them. And once you discover them, you need to figure out, see, most of us are about ROI. Once we know Claude or N8N or any of the pre-built AI agents can do our stuff, we don't worry about, we should give them less access. We give them all access. All access and get my job done. And what do we do with the rest of our time? We relax and chill. So we need to discover those agents. Then we need to figure out what all minimum stuff, minimum access you can give them. Anthropic has introduced IDJAG implementation 2 days ago. And Okta was the first integrator. Mini Orange has already integrated that a while ago. You need to make sure the agents that are invoked, they have the right identity. There are no orphans. You have to identify that the agents are owned by which human. And then those agents are not given too much access. There are some policies that you need to write. And then you need to figure out whether the policies were actually enforced and any of the violations were there. They need to have some observability and all of that. So there's a whole host of things.
Right, Anirban. So you talked about access to the tools, and purely on a lighter note, not at the cost of maximizing the use of tokens and driving up your AI builds. People are seeing these huge shocks, right? Companies talking about spending their entire AI budget within 3 months of the year. So yeah, but it's good to have these access to tools, but of course restricted use of AI and making sure
on-prem AI will reduce your cost
of tokens. Yeah. Okay, great. For question to you is, the DPDP Act introduces clear obligations around consent, data localization, cross-border transfers, and areas where GCCs are still finding their footing. So in your view, what are the most urgent compliance gaps that you're seeing in GCCs today, and how should they approach building a data privacy-ready data governance framework at scale, Anirban?
So most of the GCCs, if they are already doing business in Europe, you must be already compliant with GDPR. And DPDP Act is, the deadline is looming. It is not yet implemented, but the deadline is little less than 1 year right now. And most of the companies in India, they are either in the process of executing RFPs or actually proof of concepts going on. So I'm getting requests from a lot of GCCs to help them with their data privacy process. So that is consent and cookie management. It starts with your obviously is gap assessment and then figuring out where your data resides. It may have to do with all the applications where data is being consumed, whether the user has given consent or not, is the consent visible in his own local language or not. Then having the rule defined, which is a DPO, which has the responsibility to report to the DPO board, which India will be forming in November, and a whole host of things. And it also has to deal with not only data discovery and classification, but also to protection, data protection. So you'll have to implement a whole host of things. Most of the major data fiduciaries in India, they are already implementing it. I was in Bombay, and most of the financial companies, they are actually implementing their because I feel that there are lots of vendors that are popping up left and right. But if all the vendors are used, even then, 1.5 billion people getting them compliant by next year mid will be a big challenge. So most of the bigger fiduciaries, data fiduciaries, they're not waiting for that moment to happen. They're getting it done now. I'd like to give you an example of what happened with recently, which you all know. I mean, Air India was able to get compliant with the new laws, but wasn't able to do it because flying 2,000 flights and it waited too long. And most flight crew and all of that, they've gone over to the Middle East. So similar thing I suspect can happen, even if all the vendors like maybe Redacto, maybe Mini Orange can be used. So most of the companies are implementing their programs right now, and there are 6 or 7 products that you need to install. Many of them you may already have because of your exposure to GDPR, but some of them will be new to you. So you should start as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you.